Right. So we are in World War III right now. It's only been a week, but this war between the United States and Iran can only escalate over time. So today, there are rumors circulating online that the 82nd Airborne Division of the United States Army has been given deployment orders. They've stopped training exercises, and it is possible they will be deployed to the Middle East very soon, possibly within the next few days. The use of ground troops in against Iran would mark a massive escalation. Right now, it's mainly an air war, where the United States and Israel have air supremacy, meaning that they can strike at will against Iran. And because the costs are limited, even though America and Israel are suffering casualties, it isn't that many casualties. They're trying to avoid as many casualties as possible. And so they can theoretically retreat from this war. But the moment that ground troops go into Iran, then it is impossible to retreat. And this war can only escalate. So a massive turning point in this conflict will be the use of ground troops. If ground troops are used, then we are in World War III, and this will mark the end of the world as we know it. A ground war would also most likely draw in other actors as well. It may draw in the GCC, it may draw in the Europeans, it will definitely draw in Russia, it may even draw in China, and it may also draw in South Korea and Japan as well, because remember, the Strait of Hormuz supplies most of the oil to the Asian economies of Pakistan, India, Japan, South Korea, and China. In fact, the Strait of Hormuz provides about 75% of all of Japan's oil needs. And the Japanese Prime Minister, Takayashi, has said that if this war continues, the Strait of Hormuz continues to be closed, then Japan will run out of oil in about 8 months' time. So we can imagine that there is panic within the Japanese cabinet, and they are actually preparing to intervene somehow in this conflict, whether it's diplomatically, whether it's economically, or even militarily. South Korea may also need to come in as well. So the Strait of Hormuz really is the nexus of the world. It is the center of all global trade. And if the Strait of Hormuz stays closed because of this war, then eventually it will draw in the entire world. You mentioned the war in Ukraine previously, and from a geopolitical perspective, this war in Iran is actually is what follows naturally from the war in Ukraine, because from a geopolitical perspective, Russia, if it were to win the war in Ukraine, it would have control over 1/3 of the world's carbohydrates. Russia, if it wanted to, could starve the Middle East and could starve Africa. Ukraine is the breadbasket of Europe. Without Ukrainian energy and food and Russian energy, the Europeans are suffering economically. And so, if Europe is to survive, then it needs its energy from the Middle East. And so, what America is trying to do is trying to control the Middle East by strangling Iran to death. And so, in many ways, this war in Iran is a response to the Russian invasion of Ukraine. You know, Russia has complete battlefield dominance in Ukraine. This war in Ukraine is essentially lost. And so, if America is able to win this war in Iran, it will now control the energy supplies of the Middle East. It will control all the trade in the world. You know, there's a dream of a Eurasian heartland, a grand alliance between Russia, Iran, and China. Iran is the pivot point. So if Iran were to collapse, then America would still be able to control global trade. the petrodollar would still be the dominant currency of the world. And so this is really a struggle of life and death for the American empire. And that's why, in many ways, America has no choice now but to go all in and send ground troops.
I think the big picture of the region is of importance. I know that you've been talking about the state of Israel and the agenda of the United States with the state of Israel, but from what you see so far, we had the case of Venezuela, that the United States, Donald Trump came in and said that we are in control of Venezuela. Right now, in one of the latest interviews on Fox News, they're talking the same way. We have to control the oil in Iran. You know, the whole concept. How do you see the concept of Greater Israel and the concept of controlling oil?
Right. So Israel, since its founding in 1948, has always had a Messianic mission to reestablish the Kingdom of David. The Kingdom of David, 3,000 years ago, was this cosmopolitan empire that controlled the entire Middle East from its strategic location in the Levant. And Israel wants to reestablish the Kingdom of David. The Israelis also believe that the Greater Israel Project is what Yahweh, their God, promised to Abraham, their great ancestor. If you look at the Greater Israel Project on a map, if you just Google Greater Israel Project, what you'll see is that it encompasses the entire Middle East. So the ambitions, the territorial ambitions of the Israelis is vast. Greater Israel extends from the Nile to the Euphrates. So that means that Israel will eventually have to go and conquer Egypt after this war and in Iran eventually subsides. It would also have to conquer Saudi Arabia. And there's talk among some fanatical Israelis that they want to actually seize and control Mecca and Medina. The Greater Israel Project also includes parts of Turkey as well. And already the Israelis are talking about what a menace Turkey is. So Naftali Bennett, who was former prime minister of Israel and the person who was most likely to succeed Benjamin Netanyahu once he retires from the scene, he says that actually Turkey is new Iran, right? So the idea is that we're gonna get Iran out of the way, but then we're gonna go after Turkey. Okay, so Turkey is on the agenda, as is Saudi Arabia. And really, if you look at how Israel is fighting this war right now in Iran, it's actually trying to destroy as much of the Middle East as possible. Okay, so you have the saturation carpet bombing in Iran. So Israel is trying to destroy the Iranians' capacity to run a state, to provide basic services to its people, as well as the military capacity of the state, so that when they establish the Greater Israel Project, Iran will not be a factor. They're trying to divide Iran into ethnic enclaves that will war against each other. And Mossad agents will go into Iran and support different factions. Okay, it's dividing rule that the British Empire used to control most of the world. But if you look at what's happening right now, there's discussion. There are rumors that a lot of these drones, a lot of these attacks against the GCC countries are actually Mossad false flags. All right, so you have this drone that attacked Azerbaijan, and the Azerbaijan government said that, oh, why are the Iranians attacking us? We're going to launch a ground invasion of Iran, and the Iranians are like, this drone was not from us. And so there's rumors that it was Mossad that launched this drone attack against Azerbaijan to provoke a war between Azerbaijan and Iran. Then you have these attacks against these Saudi oil facilities, which caused Saudi Aramco, the state oil supplier in Saudi Arabia, to close down. And at first, it was reported that it was the Iranians who struck these oil facilities. But then the Iranians came out and said that it wasn't us, because why would we attack the oil facilities of the GCC? If we did that, then that would provoke the Saudi Arabian government to come attack our oil facilities. So we will not do that. And now there's reporting that actually the drone attacks against Saudi oil facilities came from Lebanon, all right, from the west rather from the east. And so people now suspect that this is another Israeli false flag meant to provoke conflict within the GCC, meant to bring Saudi Arabia into the war so that Iran would destroy Saudi Arabia's oil facilities. Okay. And then you have Tucker Carlson, who a few days ago on his show, he revealed something really, really interesting. He said that Qatari officials told him secretly that they had arrested 2 Mossad agents who were suspected of sabotage in Qatar. Okay, now the Qatari government has denied this, and we'll never know the truth. But it makes sense that Mossad would want to try to sabotage and infiltrate the GCC as much as possible because, first of all, they see the GCC, UAE, Saudi Arabia, Kuwait, Bahrain, Qatar as eventual competitors, but also they're trying to make this war as wide as possible in order to make it easier to achieve the Greater Israel project. So that is the situation right now in Iran and the Middle East.
We are witnessing a conflict between two forces, one from the east, the other from the west. These two forces are fighting each other. One is not that much eager to fight. It was I'm talking about Russia, Iran, and China. Mostly they want to communicate. They started communicating with the United States. They continue these negotiations with the United States. They're trying to do their best. On the other hand, you see the behavior of the United States is mostly like the British Empire in its last years. In they want to dominate everything. They want to force each and everybody into submission. How do you see this great game, this great power game working out for the region?